Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. I found a guy who scammed me out of $200. A few years ago, I was looking for a BotCon exclusive shattered glass Rodimus. Prices on eBay were too high, so I turned to the Junction exchange of TFW2005.com. I bought and sold items there several times and had gotten great deals. I put out a post of what I was looking to buy and waited. The next day I got a message from a user I referred to as SL for short. SL said he had a shattered glass Rodimus and said he would sell for $200. That was at least half of what they went for on eBay at the time. So I accepted and sent the money via PayPal as a gift. Some of the balance was paid via my PayPal balance and the majority off my credit card. $50 from PayPal, $150 from my credit card. This detail is important for later. In short, SL lied. He never had the figure I wanted and scammed me out of $200. I went to the TFW 2005 forums calling this guy out and asked for help from the mods over there. After doing so, I called PayPal. Sadly, since the payment was sent as a gift, there was nothing they could do to refund me. However, the rep told me since about $150 was paid from my credit card, I can file a claim with them. He told me what department to call, who to talk to, and what sort of claim to file. Awesome! He also put a note on SL's account to be investigated. After calling my credit card company, someone on TFW 2005 emailed me, saying they knew the seller IRL and gave me his contact details. Normally, I do not support doxing someone, but he's a thief. Screw him. I called SL and left a voicemail and text. He later called me and tried to play dumb. Then he said his TFW 2005 account and his PayPal were hacked. Really? What a coincidence. I told him he should refund my money or I would call his local police and have them sort this out. He caved after that and gave me a sob story about how he needed the money to buy his daughter a Christmas gift. I didn't buy the story and threatened legal action. He had to have his girlfriend send my money back through her PayPal account, since he ended up getting locked due to all this nonsense. So I got my PayPal balance of $50 from him and my bank credited me $100. So I got my $200 back. And here is the kicker. I never told him I filed a claim against him with my credit card company. Keep in mind he only sent me back $50 for PayPal. My credit card company refunded me the $150, $200 in total. So that meant they had his information too, and they would come after him to recoup their costs. A week later, my bank called me and told me this seller was claiming I breached PayPal's terms of service and blah blah blah. I called the guy again and told him if he lied again, I would call the cops. An hour later, my bank said everything was resolved and to have a nice day. Next story. Lady puts her hands on me and loses everything. A bit over 10 years ago, I tore ligaments in my shoulder, but I couldn't afford to fix it, so I just lived with it for 10 years. It was a bit unstable, but usually didn't hurt that much until a very rude woman walked up to me demanding I help her. Her attitude was typical of Karen seen in other stories too. Not realizing she mistook me for an employee, I told her she could get lost and turned away. The next thing I felt was an excruciating pain in my shoulder, the likes of which I hadn't felt in 10 years. My arm was dislocated and the ligaments, already torn, were ripping apart completely. No, to be fair, if my shoulder had been healthy, It would have handled the pulling the woman was doing to it, and she had no idea of knowing my shoulder was not healthy. As it turned out, legally speaking, this doesn't matter. I am not proud of what happened next. Even though everyone thought I was perfectly justified, I have an almost pathological prohibition against hitting a woman. But the fact that my arm was literally being torn off overrode that prohibition, and before I could stop it, my fist smashed into her face hard enough to knock out 3 teeth, break her nose, and 2 of my fingers. But it did stop her pulling on my arm. Frankly, I was horrified at what I had done, but it was all cotton tape, so legally, I was defending myself. She ended up being convicted of felony assault with grave bodily harm, got 5 years in prison, and lost her very good paying job, as that position could not be held by a convicted felon. Her husband left her and took most of the money. That money she had left went mostly to me, paying to have my shoulder fixed. Last I heard, she was out of prison, working in a shop. Of course, when she chose to grab me, she had no idea how much damage she was about to do. But as I said, that doesn't matter. If you put your hands on someone, you become fully responsible for any damage you cause, even if you are just aggravating a pre-existing condition. That includes any damage the other person might cause in defending themselves. Frankly, I'm not even mad at her. Sure, she hurt me, but I do not think she deserved to have her entire life utterly destroyed. But as they say, life is rarely fair. The consequences of your choices can be far worse than what you expect and go far beyond what is fair. I really do hope she doesn't have to deal with too many entitled, rude people like herself. Next story. Enjoy your beach vacation trick. Disclaimer: I created an alternative to post this, as a very specific nature of the revenge would certainly lead anyone who knows about it right to my primary account. There is some stuff in my primary post history that I want to keep private. If you're overdosing on the childhood bully stories, rest assured, this is not one of them. It is, however, a roommate from hell story, and I hope you think it's a good one. In 2017, I took a new job on the other side of my fairly large city. Rather than commute from where I was living now, and spend at least 90 minutes driving each way, I decided to move closer to my new job. I could have got a 1-bedroom apartment on my own, but my budget at the time would only barely manage it. I'm a single guy in my 20s and I like to go out and order in. Sure, I could have had my own place, but I would have been eating ramen and staying in most of the time. So I leased a 2-bedroom in March 2017 and started advertising for a roommate. A great guy named Dave got in touch. We seemed to click, and he moved in. I have a pickup truck, so I helped him go get furniture, and he helped me move my stuff to the new place. We got along great. We were alike enough that we had common interests, but different enough that we would have great discussions. Things were fine. We would split the cost of stuff like toilet paper and dish soup. Neither of us were total slobs, but we were fussy little witches that would complain about a dirty glass left in the sink overnight. In the meantime, my job was going great. Within 6 months, I got a promotion and a very hefty raise. Dave told me he was leaving as of November 1st, 2017. I probably should have just covered the apartment myself until the end of the lease, February 28, 2018. But I made a mistake. Let's call the mistake Bro, since that's what he called everyone else. Bro was Dave's sweet connection, had been to the apartment a few times and needed a place to stay. He seemed like he had his crap together, was charismatic and well-groomed. So Dave moved out and Bro moved in at the top of November. Trouble started pretty soon afterward. He was vain as heck, always with neatly trimmed blonde hair, nice clothes, and $500 sneakers. That's where all his money went. He didn't buy food or anything else. I would buy a loaf of bread, and the next day, there was a 1/4 of a loaf left. I would go take a dump, and there was no paper. I used to leave a big jar of peanut butter in the cupboard, and it evaporated. I would give him things and tell him to buy his own stuff. Yeah, bro, no problem. But nothing changed. He didn't even have a cell phone. Well, he did, but he never used it. He couldn't get a plan because of an unpaid account. So he had a pay-as-you-go plan and relied on WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger to keep in contact with people, like his weak customers. How much do you think he contributed to the internet bill? Rent was usually late and never in one chunk. And he was a complete slump. Never did dishes or wiped anything down. I don't think he even knew how to spell mop. I was getting more and more angry, and finally we had a big argument just before Christmas 2017. I basically told him flat out that if he didn't stop using my stuff and start pulling his own weight, then, and I quote, "crap is gonna happen, and you won't like it." The final straw. I made a bunch of cookies and stuff to take with me to visit my family for Christmas. I told him specifically not to touch the stuff in the fridge, and he devoured about 1/3 of it. Screw you, bro. Now I'm freaking angry, and I'm coming for you. Bro was excited to be going to Costa Rica for a week in February. One of his friend's parents had a condo there, and Bro and 3 friends were planning a trip to stay there for a week. Since their accommodations were free, they could party it up, and I overheard their plans for booze, cheap coke, and legal hookers. I spent a lot of time in my room when Bro and his friends were over, playing video games. I have a good headset, so they must have assumed I was playing away rather than listening through the paper-thin walls. One of the things they were planning to do was suitcase some coke back home. For those of you who don't know what that means, it is putting something up your behind to smuggle it. Coke is cheap in Costa Rica, about 10% of what it costs here, and much stronger. They were planning to bring a small-ish amount, a few grams each, then dilute it when they come back, and sell it for enough to cover the trip. Well, it comes time for the trip. And time to pull the trigger on my revenge. Here we go. Bro and his buddies were leaving on a Saturday morning. I told Bro that I was going to be out of town, so he would have to arrange for his own ride to the airport, but that I would pick him up. He gave me the flight number for his return flight. I had a few cokes in the fridge, and a chocolate cake that I had taken a few slices from. In the cupboard was a bag of Doritos and some Oreos. I told him again not to touch my stuff. Bro was out of the house on Friday, so before I left, I took every cleaning product in the place in a bag. Every soup, dish soap, vinegar, cleanser, everything, all of it. Did I mention that Bro would use my stuff? This included my shampoo and body wash. I use a product called Irish Spring Body Wash, which is a gel that's a bright emerald green. So before I left, I stirred 2 containers of green food coloring into the bottle and put it back in the shower. Did I mention that Bro had a pale complexion? Then I got into the admin of the router and filtered the MAC addresses down to my PS3, phone and desktop, effectively locking him out of the internet. Saturday morning, my phone started blowing up. I guess Bro went for a shower before leaving for the airport and got more than he thought when he used my Irish Spring as usual. I wish I could have seen it. He lost his cool, calling me every name in the book and threatening to destroy me when he returned. But there is more. On Sunday, when I got back home, the apartment was a disaster. Clearly, he had people over, and they had drunk all my cokes and eaten my munchies. That's when I finally replied to him on WhatsApp. He called me almost immediately and started ranting and screaming into the phone, freaking out that he's freaking green and it won't wash out. No peach, no pool, calling me a freak jerk, and how can I do this to him and so on. I just told him that I had said that if he keeps using my stuff, something would happen that he did not like, and he wouldn't be in this mess if he wasn't a freaking thief. Then I told him that he should actually be grateful and thank me. Thank you? Thank you for what, you jerk? Thank me for not loading the cake with laxatives, like I had planned to. On Tuesday, I messaged him, "Bro, the cops were here looking for you." What? What for? Don't know, bro. They just wanted to know where you were. What did you tell them? That you were in Costa Rica, but that you were flying back in on Sunday afternoon. There were no cops, but he didn't know that. All he knows is that there was a possibility that they might be waiting for him on arrival, and that if he was discovered smuggling cocaine, he would be in big trouble. So there went his suitcasing plans, and there went his plans to pay for his trip. On Friday, I told him that I wouldn't be able to pick him up at the airport, but not why. I had given my notice and surrendered the apartment. All week I packed up my stuff, all of it. I actually owned the furniture in bro's room, but I didn't want it. So I went into his room, dumped his stuff on the floor, and dragged it down to the dumpster. I slashed the mattress and kicked the dresser and bedside table to matchsticks, couch and chairs too. Then I emptied the place. Every cup, plate, knife, fork, all of it was either trashed or moved. I did leave one small pot, but I drilled a hole in the bottom just to make my point. I took the shower head, I took the shower curtain, and I took the shower curtain rings. I emptied the place. I heard later from Dave, who knew one of the guys that went to Costa Rica with Bro, that Bro had showed up with very little money. And what little he had was soon gone. He was mooching off the others, and it didn't take long for them to tire of Bro. Whatever fury they may have felt by the greening of Bro was soon diffused once they caught winds of his true nature. I don't know how he got back from the airport, but on Sunday he called me freaking out about the apartment. "Where is my bed, man? Where is my furniture?" What furniture? All of that stuff was mine, and I didn't want it anymore. What the heck, man? What did I ever do to you? Aside from stealing my stuff, not pulling your weight, and screwing me over for rent and bills, you mean? Now I have to sleep on the floor? Screw you, jerk! No, screw you, bro. Just to let you know, I did you a favor. Now you have less stuff to move. Better get started looking for a new place to live, because the management of the building is changing the locks on Wednesday morning. Then I blocked Bro. Never heard from him again, but they've told me he couch surfed for a few weeks and disappeared. Probably moved out of town, who knows. Good riddance. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.